Mr. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on again. Appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Absolutely, good to see you as well. So you're 13-3 in your professional mixed martial arts journey. You have won 4 of your last 5 fights in the Shark Tank that is the UFC lightweight division, and now you're taking on longtime UFC vet Jim Miller this weekend at UFC Rio Rancho. How are things, and how is parenthood treating you?
Yeah, things are good, man. I'm excited about this fight. I may be more excited about this one than any fight yet. I think that was my mindset when I started getting up into these upper tier guys. Excited. Obviously, Jimmy has been fighting as long as in the UFC as long as I've been training. When I first started training, I was watching his fights in the UFC. So exciting time, and fatherhood's great, man. Obviously, the best thing I've ever done. So the little boy, he won't be able to make it to this one. There's quite a bit of travel. So that's unfortunate, but I'm going to get that win for him still.
I dig it. How does fatherhood kind of change the way you train or approach fights, if at all?
Well, it's obviously it's changed a lot. It's a different sort of motivation. So, well, one is I need to make more money. That's the main, to be quite honest. Need to pay for that. Those guys are expensive, man. You should buy some diapers one time. That's madness. I think my entire show check will probably go to diapers. But anyways, it's just a new sort of motivation. And, obviously the training's changed a little bit because I'm traveling a little less. I travel now from Knoxville, which is home, back and forth to Charlotte, North Carolina to Jim O. I'll travel there Monday through Friday during the week and come home and see the family on the weekends. So it's been nice for me to be able to come home and decompress and spend time with him on the weekends, and kind of keeps you grounded.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned, you're no longer at the MMA lab. You're training closer to home now. What was the reason behind the move?
Family. Yeah, just needed to be closer to the baby. I spent 2 camps there after we had the baby. And it was just too hard. It was a lot to ask out of my wife, to be there with a 4-month-old, and she's also still works full time too. As you know, we don't we're not getting paid like baseball, football players. So she's still working full time and taking care of the baby. So and I didn't want to be away either. I think I spent a lot of time where I never had a real dominant father figure, so I wasn't doing real well. I wanted to be there. So being there on the weekends and only having to leave Monday through Friday is a lot better than spending 2-3 months not at all at home.
I definitely respect that. So you're coming off a very impressive TKO win over Dong Hu Ma last August. It was a really exciting bout. I mean, you both guys were really trading back and forth, but you end up swelling up his eye pretty badly. That resulted in the TKO victory. Now, you've always had hands, right? Like, you're always a guy who comes out and throws them. But it seems like you've come up with new entries, new ways to disguise your power punches. Can you kind of speak on the evolution of your boxing from when you first came into the UFC to where it is now?
Yeah, I just think it's centered around staying balanced in my footwork and trying not to load up. I'm always going to go out there and try to take somebody's head off. That's just buried deep inside me as a competitor. But trying to rein that in a little bit and trying to stay balanced. A big part of striking is staying upright and being able to strike and hit, not be hit and move. So just dialing it back a little bit, trying to take a little off the punches, and stay balanced and using my feet. So I've really worked hard on footwork and movement, and it's paying off for me.
Now, you're fighting Jim Miller. As you said, it's probably for you the biggest fight to date. Like you said, he's been around forever, since 2008, actually, which is crazy to think about it. That's 12 years at the top, of the sport. And do you think you're going to have to do anything to kind of separate your awe from him? Or what do you have to do to mentally prepare yourself to treat it just like any other opponent?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go in there being a fan of the guy. But I don't think I'm going to have any problem with that. When the fight starts rolling, it's just a shadowless face out there. So, he's going to wing one good punch at me. and I'm going to have to make a decision whether I want to kill or be killed. So it won't be hard to flip that switch. And, I'm all right. I had planned this and saw this all along, me fighting these guys that I had watched fight early on. So I'm ready for it, and I don't take a backseat to anybody, man. So it's gonna be a hell of a scrap.
Now, Miller, he definitely has some power, in his southpaw left hand, but he's really known for his submissions.
Yeah.
And you're no slouch on the ground either. I mean, you're really known for really standing and banging it out, and that might make some people kind of overlook just how good you are on the ground. Like if you do get taken down, you constantly work to get back up, and you're dropping brutal strikes along the way. We saw that when you fought Nick Lentz, and he was trying to force takedowns. He ate some really brutal elbows trying to do that. How do you feel like your grappling stacks up against someone like a Jim Miller?
Well, it's no secret the couple fights that I've lost were lost in grappling situations. So I've been working hard on that. I still feel like I'm growing in this game. I'm not, I'm still newer. I'm still consider myself an up and comer, even though I'm up there on the age, chart. I still feel good and consider myself an up and comer and think I'm the best I've ever been. So I've worked hard on a lot of those grappling situations and to fix those things. And, I'm going to try my best to keep the fight where I have the 1% advantage, because that's how you win in the UFC.
So you think he's going to be forced to stand with you?
I think the fight's going to go everywhere. But as you said, I think my grappling's underrated. A lot of people don't see it, haven't seen it, because I just don't. I don't prefer to grapple as much, but I can grapple. I hang in there with black belts. I'm a black belt myself. I've done plenty of grappling. So when the fights start rolling, it's going to be like two stray cats in a bag. So we'll see wherever we end up. I'll be fighting.
Yeah, I mean, aside from fights in hockey, I mean, you got your start in jiu-jitsu, right? That's what kind of started your whole journey down the martial arts rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yeah. I started with jiu-jitsu, so have done a lot of jiu-jitsu early on. My primary base and school early on was based on jiu-jitsu. So I got plenty of experience, and I've trained with Benson Henderson, Tinquinho Mendez, countless other black belts. That doesn't discredit what Jimmy can do on the ground. I know how dangerous he is, so I'm prepared for a full 15 minutes of fighting everywhere.
Now, Miller, he's really known, like especially lately, to get these really quick submissions first round. Do you think the longer the fight goes, the more it favors you?
I like to think so, yeah. We've seen some fights with him where he's faded really badly midway through the second and third. I just got to keep my steady pace on him. I can hold a really high pace, so I'm just betting that Tennessee Tough is tougher than New Jersey Tough on Saturday night.
I definitely dig that. I kind of hate asking this question, but it's so cliche. But what is your official prediction on how this fight's going to end?
I'm going to win. That's the official prediction. Don't care how I do it, man. In the UFC, any win is special. A win over a future Hall of Famer is even more special. I'm always prepared for 15 minutes, which is cliche to say, but, I'm going to raise hell bell to bell no matter how long it goes.
Yeah, I mean, a win over Miller, it's a huge feather in your cap. You'd be then at 5 of your last 6 with W's. Would you, after that, want to get someone closer to the rankings, or are there any like dream fights that you're kind of gunning for, or what's the future look like for Hot Sauce?
I just got to get past Jimmy first. I need this win. But I don't know. I want to fight the best guys and be in that top tier of guys. I think that's where I belong. I've worked. I've earned that. So I want to beat him first, and then we'll see. I don't really care about the belt or the rankings, really. I'd like to get the BMF belt. That's about all I care about. So that's really it. It don't matter.
Fair enough. You got any sponsors or people you'd like to give a special shout out to?
Just thanks to all my training partners at home, Shield Systems, Jimmo, Branded Bills, got a new hat here, new white patch, Hard Knocks Pizza, Zen Evo chocolate on it, X Endurance. And you, man, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. What are your handles? How can people follow you along on your journey?
Yeah, at Hot Sauce Holtzy on Instagram, Hot Sauce Holtzman on Facebook, and Hot Sauce Holtzy on Twitter.
Well, Mr. Scott Hot Sauce Holtzman, thank you so much for joining me. Jim Miller is in your crosshairs at UFC Rio Rancho this Saturday night. Have fun out there.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Eddie. Take care, man.
Thank you, sir.
See ya.